It all began on a stormy autumn night, when the clatter of the midnight train echoed against the lonely tracks. I had boarded the train in a haze of fatigue and despair, a silent witness to the relentless passage of time. The world outside blurred into a watery canvas of rain-soaked darkness, and inside the carriage, the dim glow of overhead lights cast long, wavering shadows on the worn wooden seats. I settled into an empty compartment, the chill of the night seeping into my bones as I opened a tattered notebook. I had always believed that secrets were best left buried in the recesses of memory. Yet, as fate would have it, that night I was destined to unearth a truth that would haunt me for years to come. A few stops later, a mysterious figure entered the compartment. Dressed in a long dark coat with eyes that seemed to pierce the veil of anonymity, the stranger sat opposite me. He did not speak, merely observed me with a gaze that was both piercing and sorrowful. I felt a shiver run down my spine, as though he carried with him the weight of countless untold stories. For reasons I could not fathom, I found myself drawn to the stranger's silence. As the train rumbled forward, the incessant hum of the tracks and the rhythmic tapping of raindrops against the window served as a haunting backdrop to our unspoken communion. When I finally mustered the courage to break the silence, my voice was barely more than a whisper. Do you ever feel that your past is something you cannot escape? The stranger's eyes flickered with an emotion I struggled to name. Regret, perhaps, or the burden of a hidden truth. The past is like a shadow that clings to us, he replied, his voice low and resonant. It whispers secrets we thought were long forgotten. Those words struck a chord deep within me, stirring memories I had long attempted to suppress. As the hours passed and the night deepened, the stranger leaned closer, revealing a folded, weathered piece of paper. "Take this," he murmured, extending the paper with trembling fingers. I hesitated, sensing that this simple act held the promise of both revelation and peril. Yet, compelled by a force I could neither understand nor resist, I accepted the paper. Unfolding it carefully, I discovered that it was a page torn from an old diary. The handwriting was elegant yet desperate, each word imbued with a raw, aching sorrow. It spoke of a man tormented by guilt who had committed an act that irrevocably altered the course of his life. The diary's narrative recounted clandestine meetings, hushed confessions, and a secret that threatened to unravel a family's very foundation. My heart pounded in my chest as I read. The words resonated with an uncanny familiarity, as though they were penned in a language my soul had always known. Memories of a long-forgotten night, a clandestine encounter in a dimly lit room, and a decision made in the throes of despair flooded my mind. It was as if the diary had been written for me, or by me, in another life or under circumstances too complex to comprehend. That night on the train, I became both the reader and the unwitting protagonist of a story that transcended time. The diary spoke of betrayal, a promise broken under the weight of societal expectations and personal anguish. Its author, consumed by regret, had documented every detail of his transgression, from the spark of desire that had ignited a forbidden relationship to the moment when fear had driven him to silence. The journey continued, the train cutting through the inky darkness as I grappled with the revelation. The mysterious stranger watched me intently, his eyes reflecting a profound sadness. "There are moments," he said softly, "when our choices define us, binding us to a destiny we cannot escape." His words echoed in the caverns of my mind, stirring a realization that the diary was not merely a collection of words, but a mirror reflecting my own hidden regrets. I began to question everything I had ever known about myself. The memories that had once been shrouded in the mists of time were now emerging in vivid detail. I recalled a time, many years ago, when I had been complicit in a secret that had fractured a family, including my own. It was a secret that I had buried deep within, a dark corner of my soul where guilt and sorrow resided. The diary's narrative, though penned by a stranger, seemed to unravel the tapestry of my own history. The weight of the revelation pressed upon me with an intensity that threatened to crush my very being. I felt as though I was standing at the precipice of an abyss, teetering on the edge of a decision that would forever alter my life. The moral dilemma was clear: to continue living in the comforting shadows of denial, or to confront the truth, no matter how painful it might be. The train soon pulled into a remote station, its platform deserted and shrouded in mist. I stepped off into the cold, damp night, the diary clutched tightly in my hand. The stranger had vanished, leaving behind only the echo of his parting words. I wandered through the empty streets, the fog swirling around me like ghostly tendrils, each step a reluctant journey deeper into the labyrinth of my past. I sought refuge in a small, dimly lit cafe, where the aroma of stale coffee mingled with the melancholy strains of a lone saxophone playing in the background. I ordered a drink and sat by the window, my eyes fixed on the rainy street outside. With trembling fingers, I reopened the diary, determined to piece together the fragments of my shattered memory. As I read on, the diary revealed a series of clandestine meetings held in a secluded park, a place where the veil between the past and the present seemed to blur. The entries described how a chance encounter had led to an affair that, though fleeting, had left an indelible mark on the souls of those involved. The diary's author spoke of love, betrayal, and the crushing burden of guilt that had followed him relentlessly. Each word was a dagger, each sentence a reminder of a night that had long since passed, but could never be forgotten. I recalled that fateful evening vividly, an evening bathed in the melancholic glow of twilight, when I had made a choice that I had thought was inevitable, but which now seemed like a grave error. The memory was a shifting mosaic of emotions, a fleeting sense of liberation, followed by a wave of overwhelming regret that had swept away all hope of redemption. In that moment, I understood that the diary was not merely a relic of the past, but a catalyst for change. It had been left in my hands for a reason, a final confession from a soul who, like mine, had once been shackled by the chains of secrecy. The author of the diary had chosen to lay bare his soul, perhaps as a desperate attempt to unburden himself of the weight he had carried for so long. Haunted by the revelation, I made a decision. I could no longer allow the ghosts of the past to dictate the course of my life. The diary, with its haunting prose and painful confessions, was a summons to face my own inner demons. It was a call to acknowledge the truth, however bitter it might be, and to seek a semblance of redemption. With a heavy heart and a resolve tempered by sorrow, I embarked on a quest for answers. My journey led me back to the place where it all began, a dilapidated mansion at the edge of town, shrouded in ivy and forgotten by time. The mansion had once belonged to my estranged family, a relic of a bygone era filled with secrets and scandal. It was here that I believed I would uncover the final piece of the puzzle. The mansion was a labyrinth of dust-laden corridors and echoing chambers. As I wandered through its decaying halls, I could almost hear the whispers of voices long silenced, the echoes of laughter and tears that had faded into oblivion. In a secluded study, I discovered a collection of letters and journals, meticulously preserved despite the ravages of time. These documents chronicle the hidden history of my family, a tapestry of love, betrayal, and the irreversible consequences of a single, fateful decision. The pages reveal that the secret I had long tried to forget was not mine alone. My father, too, had been entangled in a web of deceit, his actions echoing through the generations. The diary's narrative, though seemingly isolated, was part of a much larger story, a story of a family cursed by silence and regret. I learned of forbidden love, of promises made in the dark, and of sacrifices that had been demanded in the name of honor. Standing amidst the remnants of a shattered legacy, I felt a surge of conflicting emotions. Anger, sorrow, and a deep-seated guilt mingled within me, each vying for dominance as I grappled with the enormity of the truth. The moral dilemma that had once seemed so abstract now took on a tangible form. I was faced with a choice: to expose the hidden truths and risk shattering the fragile facade of our family's reputation, or to continue living in the comforting embrace of oblivion, forever haunted by what might have been. As I sat in the study, the rain outside crescendoing into a symphony of despair, I made my decision. I would not allow the sins of the past to define my future any longer. The diary, with its aching confessions and whispered regrets, had opened a door that I could no longer close. I resolved to confront the truth, to seek out the lingering echoes of those lost to silence, and to finally put an end to the cycle of secrecy that had tormented my family for so long. In the days that followed, I began to reach out to the scattered remnants of those who had once been part of this hidden narrative. I visited old acquaintances and estranged relatives, each encounter a delicate dance of revelation and remorse. Some welcomed the truth with open arms, eager to cleanse themselves of the weight of unspoken guilt, while others recoiled in fear, unwilling to confront the dark underbelly of our shared history. One evening, as dusk settled over the town like a shroud, I found myself standing before an old friend, a woman whose eyes bore the scars of betrayal and loss. In the quiet intimacy of a candlelit room, I recounted the revelations of the diary, my voice trembling with both regret and determination. She listened intently, her expression a complex tapestry of sorrow, understanding, and a hint of defiance. "You have carried this burden alone for far too long," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the soft patter of rain against the window. "It is time to confront the past, no matter how painful it may be." Her words, tender yet resolute, fortified my resolve. I realized that in facing the truth, I was not alone. I was part of a collective narrative, a tapestry woven from the threads of shared sorrow and hope. Days turned into weeks, and the storm that had once raged within me gradually subsided into a steady drizzle of introspection. I found solace in long walks through the labyrinthine alleys of the old town, where every cobblestone seemed to whisper a forgotten tale, and every shadow held a trace of lost memories. Each step I took was a silent affirmation of my commitment to facing the truth, however painful it might be. I began to document my journey in a new diary, one that would serve not only as a record of my discoveries, but also as a beacon for those who might be lost in the labyrinth of their own regrets. The act of writing, of putting my thoughts and emotions onto paper, was cathartic, a release of the pent-up sorrow and guilt that had haunted me for so long. In the quiet solitude of my study, illuminated by the soft glow of a single lamp, I poured out my heart. The ink captured every nuance of my struggle and the slow dawning of self-forgiveness. In the process, I reconnected with those I had once turned away from. There was Marianne, a kindred spirit whose eyes held the quiet resilience of someone who had weathered her own storms. Her presence was a gentle reminder that even in the darkest of times, a fragile hope could still bloom, a promise that redemption, though hard won, was never beyond reach. Marianne had known my family well and carried her own painful memories tied to the secrets that had once torn us apart. Together, we revisited the old haunts of our youth, the abandoned park where whispered confessions were exchanged, and the decaying library that held the echoes of a forgotten era. Through our shared conversations, I came to understand that the act of unburdening oneself was not a solitary endeavor. It was a communion of souls, each seeking to mend the fractures of a past marred by silence and regret. Marianne spoke of her own journey toward forgiveness, the slow, deliberate steps that had led her to accept life's imperfections and the inevitability of mistakes. Her words, imbued with tender wisdom, offered me a glimpse of a future where the shadows of yesterday could be transformed into stepping stones toward a brighter tomorrow. But not all were willing to embrace the revelations. In the wake of my decision to confront the past, I encountered resistance from those who clung desperately to the illusion of an unblemished legacy. A cousin, bitter and resentful from years of hidden animosities, warned me that the truth would only serve to dismantle the carefully constructed facade of our family's honor. Some secrets are better left untouched, he cautioned in a tone as cold as winter's wind. Yet in his eyes, I saw the fear of facing his own demons, a reflection of the same inner turmoil that had driven me to seek the truth. The struggle to balance the yearning for truth with the desire to preserve order was a battle waged on multiple fronts. There were moments when the weight of the revelations threatened to overwhelm me, when the specter of past mistakes loomed large and cast long shadows over my attempts at reconciliation. Yet, with each passing day, I grew more resolute in my determination to honor the memory of those who had suffered in silence. The diary, with its haunting prose and sorrowful confessions, had become more than a record of past transgressions. It was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and a reminder that even in despair, there lay the possibility of redemption. One particularly crisp morning, as I strolled along the mist-laden streets, I encountered an elderly man seated on a weathered bench. His piercing blue eyes held a depth of sorrow and wisdom that belied his frail appearance. I sensed that he too carried a burden of secrets, a silent weight borne with quiet dignity through many long years. Intrigued, I struck up a conversation. He told me of a time when his own family had been torn apart by betrayal and hidden truths, and of the arduous journey he had undertaken to find forgiveness for both himself and those who had wronged him. As we spoke, the old man confided that the key to his healing had been the willingness to face the darkest corners of his memory, to accept that the past, even when painful, was an integral part of his identity. "The truth is not a weapon," he murmured, "but a bridge that connects us to the future. In acknowledging our failures, we find the strength to rebuild." His words resonated deep within me, reinforcing my belief that revealing one's secrets was not an end, but a beginning, a necessary step toward embracing the full spectrum of our human experience. In the weeks that followed, I continued my quest with renewed vigor. I revisited the mansion, exploring rooms I had once overlooked, each space imbued with memories of laughter, sorrow, and unspoken promises. In the attic, beneath layers of dust and forgotten relics, I discovered a collection of photographs capturing moments of joy and togetherness, a stark contrast to the narrative of despair that had long defined our family history. These images, though faded and worn, served as poignant reminders that even amidst the darkest secrets, shards of light could still be found. The process of uncovering the truth became a journey of constant rediscovery, a delicate dance between remembering and forgiving. As I pieced together the fragments of our shared past, I began to see the complexity behind every choice. Every act of betrayal, every whispered lie, was interwoven with moments of vulnerability and longing. It became clear that our actions, however misguided, were often the desperate attempts of souls yearning for connection in a world that had grown indifferent. There were times when I questioned the wisdom of my pursuit, when the enormity of the revelations seemed too vast to bear. The shadows of the past loomed, threatening to swallow the fragile light of hope that I had so painstakingly nurtured. Yet in those moments of doubt, I found strength in the simple act of remembering. The faces of those I had lost, the echoes of laughter that once filled the halls of our ancestral home, and the quiet resilience of those who dared confront their own darkness. As autumn gave way to winter, the landscape transformed into a frozen tableau of ice and silence. The biting cold mirrored the emotional desolation I had endured, yet it also held the promise of renewal. On a still winter night, as I sat by a crackling fire with flames dancing in a mesmerizing ballet before my eyes, I came to a profound realization. The journey to uncover the truth was not merely about confronting past transgressions. It was about embracing the totality of our existence, both light and shadow. I resolved then to share my story, to offer a beacon of hope to those burdened by hidden regrets. I began to write, not just in my new diary, but in letters to a future that might one day heal the scars of yesterday. Each word was an act of defiance against the forces of silence and denial. A declaration that our lives were far too complex and beautiful to be reduced to mere secrets. The act of revelation transformed me. With every confession and every painstaking recollection of forgotten moments, I felt a subtle shift within, a softening of the hardened edges of my soul, and a gradual mending of old fractures. The diary, once a relic of sorrow, had become a vessel for catharsis, carrying the promise of forgiveness and the possibility of rebirth. Now, as I stand at the crossroads of memory and destiny, I am filled with quiet determination. The truth, with all its scars and imperfections, has shown me that redemption is not an unattainable ideal, but a tangible possibility, a gift waiting to be claimed by those who dare to confront the darkness within. Though the path ahead remains shrouded in uncertainty, I am no longer afraid to tread it. Every step, every whispered confession, brings me closer to a future where the light of understanding dispels the lingering shadows of the past. In the end, I have learned that our lives are a tapestry woven from both joy and sorrow, and that it is in the delicate balance between these forces that we find our true selves. The journey of unveiling hidden truths is a solitary pilgrimage, yet also a shared odyssey, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit in the face of overwhelming odds. And as I continue to write my story, I am reminded that the echoes of forgotten regrets, though painful, are a call to rise above darkness and embrace the promise of a new beginning. Years have passed since that fateful night on the train, and while the memories of betrayal and guilt still linger, like faint scars, they no longer define me. Instead, I carry them as a reminder of the transformative power of truth. Every day, as I navigate the delicate line between memory and hope, I find solace in the knowledge that the journey toward redemption is ongoing. A journey that demands both humility and courage, and in the act of confronting our deepest secrets, We pave the way for healing and renewal. I now leave this account as a silent testament to all those who wander in search of meaning amidst the ruins of their past. May the whisper of forgotten regrets serve as a gentle reminder that, even in the deepest night, a spark of light persists, guiding us onward toward a future shaped by the enduring power of truth and the unyielding promise of redemption.